Welcome on back to FCS All-In. I'm your host, Mary Louise Cook. There's lots in store for you today as we'll be highlighting Eastern Kentucky at number 15, Southeast Missouri, and number 14, Idaho at number 2, Sacramento State. As always, Sam Herder of Hero Sports and Craig Haley of Stats Perform will have you covered with their in-depth analysis of each game of the week, as well as providing their game picks. Tonight's guest picker will be Matt Langle, former Eastern Kentucky tight end and Super Bowl champ. Week 9 is here. It's time to go all in.
Southeast Missouri is off to a 6-1 start this year, soaring to wins in its last 6 contests to jump to number 14 in the national rankings. The Redhawks are close to clinching its 3rd winning season in the past 5 years under head coach Tom Matukowicz, who is now in his 9th year overall at SEMO.
You know, what is the best attribute of this football team? I would say it's consistency. That's hard to do. You know, the world doesn't value consistency. They value intensity, but that's why you get the big ups and downs. And this football team knows that it's all about preparation and the standard of play.
A big piece of the Redhawks' success this year has been senior defensive back Lawrence Johnson, who has made 51 tackles and 6 pass breakups in 6 games.
Lawrence Johnson was a kid from St. Louis who played quarterback. Didn't have a lot of opportunity, but I knew what kind of ceiling he had. He was a high school quarterback. We ended up signing him as a DB, but he's going to graduate with a corporate communications degree this December, and he'll be the only one in his family to get a degree.
So playing college football is really important to me because it's something that I've always wanted to do. It's always been a dream. Like going to the NFL has been my main goal, but college football is something that I know I had to do to get to where I want to be. And knowing that I'm making my family proud by doing this is great.
Another key player for SEMO has been senior All-VC offensive lineman Nate Cordy, who discussed what he likes most about playing for Coach Tuke.
Coach Tuke he's a down-to-earth guy. He's not flashy. He knows when to discipline us. He knows when to pull back from practice. He knows when to push us. He's just a good guy.
What is Southeast Missouri? Let's try this again. You are Southeast Missouri. You make Southeast Missouri what it is. And Southeast Missouri is who we are. It's in our name. It's in our past. And with you, it's our future. Welcome home.
Welcome to the ASUN side of FCS All-In. I'm Jordan Griffith, and today I'm here to break down the Eastern Kentucky Colonels as they travel to the Midwest to face the Southeast Missouri Redhawks. You can't talk about Eastern Kentucky without talking about the stellar play of quarterback Parker McKinney. And here to do that is head coach Walt Wells.
I think anytime you talk about a special person, you talk about the person. And, it's hard to be consistent. It's hard to be the same every day. It's hard to be up or down or whatever you want to say every day. And Parker is the same person every day that he walks in the building. He's never going to be too high. He's never going to be too low. I think he enjoys his teammates. I think he loves the game of football. And I think, you see that in, since I've been here, I've never had to, Parker hadn't been late. He hasn't missed. He hasn't complained about doing things. He may do that in the locker room with the guys. I don't know, but he doesn't bring it to us. And those are the consistencies that you see when he goes on a game-winning drive like that. I mean, not every throw was perfect, not every read was right, but he just, all right, snap the ball again, give it to me again, and I'm going to throw it here this time.
This matchup is between two former OVC foes, with the Colonels sporting a huge advantage in the series history with a 25-5 edge over the Redhawks. EKU comes into this game with a 4-3 record and coming off a thrilling victory over North Alabama. That game was capped off with a game-winning touchdown pass from Parker McKinney in the final seconds to get their first ASUN win. McKinney not only went for 6 total touchdowns, but helped the Colonels score 56 points in the win. That marked the 5th time that they have scored over 30 points in a game this season. The air attack could prove to be a favorable one for EKU, as they have the 7th-ranked passing offense in the nation with over 300 passing yards per game. That could benefit them, as SEMO has the 117th ranked pass defense in the country, allowing 297 yards in the air. This game signifies the final non-conference game for the Colonels, and they look to end it with a bang. Here's offensive lineman Tucker Schroeder talking about the matchup in the team's schedule.
Coach Wells said it. We have a really great schedule ahead of us. No easy teams, no teams that are going to give us, a day off, and we don't really want it that way anyway, but obviously going out, winning out the rest of the schedule is what's most important, what we're looking at. Kelton kind of touched on this too, but, we kind of take it a week at a time. This week at SEMO, going down to Missouri, familiar foe, not in the past 2 years, but obviously they were a previous OVC team. And so we've played them a lot. I've gotten to play them 3 times in my career. So I've been to Cape Girardeau a few times, and excited to get back down there and see how our team performs.
And that was the Eastern Kentucky review for FCS All-In. I'm Jordan Griffith with the ASUN Conference, and we'll see you out there Saturday.
Welcome on into FCS All-In. I've got Craig Haley of FCS Stats Perform and Sam Herder of Hero Sports here with me today. We're going to break down our first game of the week here on FCS All-In. We've got Eastern Kentucky at number 15, Southeast Missouri. Craig, I'm going to start off with you here. It's the first contest between the two schools since 2019. What is your overall assessment of this matchup?
Mary Louise, you're right. I mean, they were Ohio Valley Conference, rivals for a while. I just think it's a fun matchup because, Eastern Kentucky's really, can be explosive with Parker McKinney. They had that 7 overtime win at Bowling Green, and SEMO, Southeast Missouri, has really taken it to another level. Coach Tuke has been a terrific since he's been at that school, and they have Paxton DeLaurent and Gino Hess in the offensive backfield, so they're explosive there. I just think it's a fun kind of end line to end line kind of game.
All right. Yeah, Sam. So Eastern Kentucky just picked up their first ASUN win last week over North Alabama. Craig's talking about Parker McKinney. We saw him earn the co-offensive weekly honor for the conference. What did he do well there that he needs to continue to do well heading into this matchup?
Well, he's just a veteran guy. He's been around for quite some time. He set some program records for EKU, and he's off to a great start again this year. 19 touchdown passes, 5 interceptions, and so I think it's kind of spreading the wealth, continuing to do that. That's what he's done all season. EKU has 5 receivers with 20 plus catches, and so it's not like it's not like he's zeroing in on one guy. Jaden Smith is maybe the go-to in big situations, but I think it's just continuing to spread that wealth out, because SEMO has a really good run defense, but their passing defense might be a little bit more gettable. So I think just McKinney being sharp, continuing to be sharp will be big in this game.
All right, Craig, SEMO's rolling and has not dropped a contest as their season opener at Iowa State. What would it take for Eastern Kentucky to stop them? And we heard Sam kind of allude to a little bit, but what do you think?
Well, Eastern Kentucky has to outscore them here, obviously, and that's how they win games. I mean, they're 4-3. They basically rotated wins and losses. They just have to get a lead. You're on the road. I mean, obviously SEMO, their big game, is within conference next week. They're at Tennessee State in a big one. So I just think they have to attack that defense. They're best at passing the ball, as Sam mentions. And, McKinney does spread around. I mean, they're one of two teams in the FCS with 4 receivers who have 300 yards or more. I think they just have to attack with the pass and really kind of, get SEMO on its heels.
Sam, now SEMO is ranked in both polls in the top 25 for the first time since 2019. What do you think makes this specific squad special?
Yeah, I think, overall the defense has improved. They're scoring a lot of points offensively, but I think defensively, especially the run defense, has gotten a lot better. Bryce Norman is a really good inside linebacker for SEMO. And so I just think, probably a confidence booster too. I think it was the second or third week of the season they beat Southern Illinois, who's a ranked opponent at the time, still is ranked. And so I think just having that confidence factor about SEMO, who's always been an above average program. I think always been near the top of the OVC, but they've certainly taken it to the next level this year and have yet to lose to an FCS opponent.
All right, Eastern Kentucky at Southeast Missouri, going to be a great matchup. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your thoughts on this one. We'll see you in just a little bit for our second game of the week that we'll be highlighting, Idaho at Sacramento State. Stick with us. That was your inside look at Eastern Kentucky at SEMO. Next up, the Big Sky marquee matchup of the week, number 14 Idaho at number 2 Sacramento State. Big Sky football has distinguished itself as a preeminent conference in the FCS yet again this year. Heading into week 9, Idaho and Sacramento State have set themselves apart as 2 of the remaining undefeated teams in Big Sky play. Sacramento State will remain home for the second consecutive week and take on its second ranked opponent of the season. With the Hornets having won 15 consecutive Big Sky games dating back to 2019, here's what head coach Troy Taylor has to say about this matchup against the Vandals.
Very impressive, very well coached. That staff and Coach Eck have done a tremendous job. Really explosive on offense. They can run it, they can throw it. They got elite athletes touching the ball. Defensively, they got a lot of guys around the hat, create a lot of turnovers, and they're solid in special teams. So this is a really good football team, and it's going to be a huge challenge for us. Every single week you're playing somebody that's well coached, that has good players, and they're going to be playing at the top of their game. So there's no breaks in this league, but that's what makes it fun. And it seems like every week we're playing a really good team.
Despite a strong start to the season, Idaho went under the national radar until a victory over Montana on the road pushed them into the top 25 nationally. Now sitting at number 14, here's what first-year head coach Jason Eck has to say about the upcoming matchup.
It's 2 really good teams. I think they've, clearly shown to that. I mean, they've kind of drilled everybody they played. Last week was the first game they even had to come from behind to win a game. So they're a very good team. I think they're very good on offense and defense. I think their coaching staff is probably the best coaching staff in our conference. I think they do a really good job of putting their players in good positions. And then they have a lot of, tough competitive guys like their running back, Scatterby. I mean, you like guys, you respect guys like that. They play their tails off and are good, tough football players. I don't know if I thought we'd be 5-2 at this point, but I was hoping that we would improve, and make progress throughout the year, which I think we have. So I would think we're, a little bit ahead of schedule. This wasn't a thing where I thought, man, we have to make the playoffs our first year, but we're in contention. But, we had 4 tough games left that we got to finish off. Thankful to be in such a great conference where there's good competition, which I think will help our strength of schedule and things for playoffs and that. But, this is a big opportunity, playing another, top team on the road. And, our guys kind of thrive in the underdog role. We've played pretty well on the road as underdogs. I think all 4 games we've been underdogs that we've gone on the road this year. So this is nothing new to us going to Sac State as an underdog. Our guys like that, going on the road, and it's, kind of us against the world, and just the people on our sideline believe, and certainly that was the case at Montana. I think everyone picked us against us in that game, and I think we used that as motivation internally, and I think Sac State will still be a favorite, well deserved. They beating everybody they played. So, we're just going to go in and try to play our best, focus on what we can control. They're a very good opponent. We can't control how well they play, but if, when we've really focused on ourselves and executed the way we want to, we've done pretty well.
It'll be a great atmosphere in Sacramento for the Hornets homecoming game. Tune in on ESPN Plus at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. From the snowy peaks of the Rocky Mountains to the Golden Coast in the Pacific Northwest, we've blazed our own path forward. We've climbed to the highest peaks. We've reached this summit despite all odds stacked against us. Through consistent hard work and fiery competition on the field of play and in the classroom, we've held each other to a standard worthy of our namesake. We are the Big Sky Conference, where experience is elevated.
Here we are, our eyes wide open. We see the road ahead. We're part of something bigger. We're the dreamers, the heroes, the ones who change our communities, build our cities, are passionate about compassion. There are more like you here than unlike you. So take hold and see yourself in the present. See that vision unfold among others. Redefine the possible. Redefine you.
At the University of Idaho, vandals experience breakthroughs every single day.
For the first time, fire crews are using a new type of technology.
But how is one measured? A pounding heart? A newfound passion? How long friendships last after graduation? Can you measure a breakthrough by being the first in your field? Or the first in your family? Yeah, there are lots of ways to measure breakthroughs. Are you ready for yours?
Mary Louise Cook here, back with Craig Haley and Sam Herder here on FCS All-In, taking a look at number 14 Idaho at number 2 Sacramento State. Craig, Idaho was flying under the radar until upsetting Montana on the road. Did you expect the Vandals to have this kind of success this season?
Mary Louise, no, this is a surprise. I mean, Coach Eck is fabulous coming from South Dakota State, so you knew they'd be improved, but nobody really saw this coming. I mean, you didn't know much about Giovanni McCoy at quarterback, and he's really been a difference maker. Obviously, they had players in the skills position, and Coach Eck has their defense, playing more physical. It's a surprise. I mean, they were decent losses to, FBS opponents. They kept it close. So to be 5-2 and really, probably still under the radar, that's saying something.
Totally. Now, Sam, Sacramento State undefeated, coming off a big win over Montana. How do they look to use that as fuel here at home again this weekend?
Yeah, it probably is a good thing for Sac State that Idaho is ranked, because this could be an easy game to overlook when you're coming off of an emotional win, an overtime win over Montana, where Sac State had to come back from a 10-point deficit. And so I think just with how Idaho is playing, that is certainly going to grab Sac State's attention. And I think just, again, establishing the run, they struggled with that a little bit against Montana. And you look at Idaho, talent-wise, Idaho's front seven has never been an issue as far as individual talent, but now this year they're living up to that talent, and Idaho is allowing a little more than 100 rushing yards per game, which is a really good number. And so I think Sac State establishing the run, obviously they can make some explosive plays through the air, but establishing the run, not being a one-dimensional offense against Idaho is going to be key.
All right, well, Craig, Coach Eck is no stranger to Sacramento State, as he faced the team in the second round of the 2021 FCS playoffs last year as the offensive coordinator for South Dakota State. How important do you think that experience is heading into this matchup?
Well, I mean, Coach Eck's, faced so many good teams, so many diverse teams over time. So I think, he's not fazed by a team that's very good, a team that's, nationally ranked, one of the best in the nation. He knows Sac State has this winning streak going in in the Big Sky. I believe it's 15. I mean, he's going to use that as motivation, saying, "Hey, they're the big dogs. We're overlooked. Let's go beat them."
Sam, you mentioned avoiding a one-dimensional offense there, and Sacramento State has their dual quarterback system with Jake Dunaway and Asher O'Hara. So you look at the different ways that they can move the ball, and just how that dual quarterback system does work so well for the Hornets. What do you expect to see from these guys in this matchup?
Yeah, I think getting Cameron Scadable going, the running back for Sac State, getting him going early is going to be key. He's such a bruising running back, where it looked like last week against Montana, maybe he was, fighting some ailments. I think he only had 2 or 3 carries in the first half against Montana. Then in the second half, he got a bunch of carries. And so I think just getting him the ball early to establish that run, it's not going to be easy. Like I said, Idaho has a very good rushing defense, but I think kind of establishing that run, which allows, that would basically make Idaho sneak up, on the run, and then you can take some shots over the top, which is exactly what they did in the second half. They got Scadabo going, and then you look at a couple other scores for Sac State last week. They were all big passing plays where the wide receiver got beyond the secondary, and so I think kind of having that attack against Idaho is going to be key.
All right, top 15 matchup. Going to be a lot of fun. Idaho at Sacramento State. Thank you so much, Craig Haley of FCS Stats Perform, Sam Herder of Hero Sports for joining me here on FCS All-In. We'll see you in just a bit for our Game Pick'em segment. Mary Louise Cook here on FCS All-In, joined by Craig Haley and Sam Herder for our Game Pick'em segment. Sam, you're getting our first pick, Fordham at Holy Cross. What are you thinking?
Well, this is a massive game in the Patriot League and one of the more intriguing games in the FCS. Fordham is number 22. Holy Cross is number 5. The last 7-8 years, the Patriot League has been a 1-bid league. Now it's looking like they potentially could have 2 bids into the playoffs, just depending on how this matchup looks. Offensively, I think both offenses are really good. Tim DeMorat from Fordham, he gets a lot of hype and praise deservedly so. But Matthew Sluka from Holy Cross has played really well as well, and so I like Holy Cross's defense a lot better than Fordham. Fordham wins shootouts. Holy Cross can kind of stifle you defensively, so I'll take Holy Cross at home.
All right, Craig, what do you think?
I have to agree. I mean, Fordham number 1 in passing in the FCS, but also 130 in last. So I think, Holy Cross, they're trying to tie the Patriot League record with 4 straight championships. They've won 5 in a row against Fordham. I mean, you got to give Fordham a shot here with the passing, but you have to like Holy Cross at home.
Rhode Island at William and Mary. Sam, what do you think?
The CAA has arguably been the most fun conference to watch. Every week we have at least 1 or 2 ranked versus ranked matchups, 50-50 games that go down the wire. This week, Rhode Island is number 18. William and Mary is number 10. William and Mary has a 3-game winning streak right now, looking really good, 6-1 versus the FCS. Does have an FBS win. I believe it's over Charlotte, who just recently fired their head coach. I really like the team balance for William and Mary. I think they get a home win, but I have picked against Rhode Island a couple times and they proved me wrong. So I'm not too confident in this one, but I'll take the Tribe at home.
All right, Craig.
Yeah, Rhodey's won 3 in a row. The CAA is going back and forth against each other. I think I've come to the point where William and Mary may be the most impressive CAA team, especially with their run game has just been lights out all season. So I'm going to take William and Mary at home.
All right, Sam, Chattanooga at Furman.
A huge game here in the SoCon. Chattanooga is number 7. Furman is number 24. You look at the SoCon and there's probably, it's probably a good enough conference to get 3 playoff teams in between whether it's Furman, Chattanooga, Mercer, or Samford. 3 of those 4 teams I think are going to get in playoffs. So this matchup is huge. Chattanooga is just rolling right now. They had a really impressive win against Mercer this last weekend, a dominant win. I was really high on Mercer, and so I think Chattanooga is the most complete team in the SoCon. Furman's looking good as well, especially offensively the last couple of games. But Chattanooga I think is a bit more balanced, a bit more complete of a team, probably a bit more experienced as well to get a road win.
Craig, your thoughts?
Mary Louise, have I said this is the toughest week of picks before? I might have said it twice.
Yeah, a few times.
Well, these games are just tough. I think Dominic Roberto is going to test the Chattanooga defense, but the Mocs have been the best defense going in the SoCon the last 2 years. I think Furman's a little overlooked because they had an early loss to Sanford. I just think you have to take the Mocs here.
Southern at Jackson State, Sam.
Yeah, College game day will be there. I think as far as the game itself might not be too exciting. I do think Jackson State is going to win big. But as some of the college game day hosts have said in the past when they've gone to FCS games, it's not always about the game. It's about, the story. And I think Jackson State and just the SWAC overall is one of the best stories in college football. And so, the 3 hours leading up to the game on ESPN College Game Day should be a really good environment. Should be a good environment in the stadium as well. But I just think Jackson State is just rolling right now, coming off of a really competitive win over Campbell. And so JSU should continue to be undefeated after this week.
Craig?
Yep, Bashawn McCray, the quarterback at Southern, he's really been on a roll. It started with his running early in the year. The last 4 games, he's really been passing the ball better, but he hasn't faced the Jackson State defense. I thought Jackson State was going to win bigger over Campbell than they did last week, but you still have to like him here with that defense. I mean, they've won 14 straight games against SWAC opponents, so you got to take Jackson State here.
Campbell at North Carolina A&T, Sam.
Yeah, and speaking of Campbell, like I said, really competitive performance at Jackson State last week. Offensively probably didn't perform as well as they wanted to, but I think Jackson State probably has a top 3 defense in the FCS. And so I think Campbell recovers here, gets a road win at North Carolina A&T. Interesting matchup. Both are undefeated in Big South play, and both are heading to the CAA next season. So kind of an interesting twist there, I guess. But Campbell's been my pick to win. Actually, I think North Carolina was my preseason pick to win the Big South, but I've since changed that to Campbell, and so I'll stick to my guns here and go with Campbell to win the Big South.
All right, Craig.
I'm laughing because I've gone the other way. I had Campbell picked back in the winter to win the Big South. I just think back-to-back games with Jackson State and then playing at North Carolina A&T, that's a lot physically. I just think Bayshul Tootin, the running back, A&T has just been fabulous. 6 straight games over 100, really running the ball great. I just think that road trip here is really tough on Campbell. So I'm going to go North Carolina A&T.
Okay, Alabama State versus Alabama A&M, Sam.
Yeah, great rivalry game, great classic, and have a great crowd as well. Alabama A&M, I'm kind of a little skeptical about their defense. On the flip side, Alabama State, I really like their defense. They've been playing really well. But offensively, I think Alabama State has struggled a little bit. So, it's kind of one of those things. You take the more balanced team or you take the more high-scoring team. I really like Alabama A&M's group of wide receivers, super, super talented. I think this could turn out to be a shootout, but I think Alabama A&M overall has a much better offense. And so maybe they score a couple times late in the fourth quarter to get a win.
Craig, your thoughts on the in-state rivalry?
Sure. I mean, the Magic City Classic, they know how to party in Birmingham, and leading up to the game, it's as good of a pre-week in the regular season as anywhere. So you have to like what's going on down in Birmingham. I think Alabama State has the better quarterback here, but the running game has been terrific for A&M. Donovan Eaglin's, 3 straight 100-yard games are really rolling. I think it's a tight game, and it surprises you year to year because they're so tight. I'm going to go A&M as well.
Okay, Montana at Weber State, Sam.
Both teams are coming off of emotional losses in essentially 50-50 games. And this is a pivotal point for both because, Montana could win out, finish 9-2 and be a top 5 seed. They could also lose a couple more games and, at 7-4, maybe they don't make the playoffs. That's not guaranteed. And on the flip side, Weber State, they could win out, get a really high seed. They could also lose a couple more games. Weber still has to play Sac State, and Weber State could end up playing on Thanksgiving weekend instead of having the first round bye. And so huge game for both. I really like Weber State in this one. Always plays well at home. I think they'll figure out some of their special teams issues. Second straight road trip for Montana. I think it's going to be tough for the Grizz to get a win there. And so Weber State rebounds from their loss and gets a win.
All right, Craig, what do you think?
Well, Weber State was, the more impressive team, a week ago as far as, almost winning against, an almost unbeatable home team in Montana State. I worry about Lucas Johnson's situation, moving forward here for Montana, being hurt, their quarterback. Weber couldn't stop the run. At the same time, the Grizz, that's what they do. I could go either way. I think I'm going to go with Weber State at home. but Montana can certainly go there and win.
All right, Delaware at Elon, Sam.
Yeah, that's a good call on the Montana quarterback injury, Lucas Johnson, because Delaware is also dealing with an injury. Nolan Henderson has a upper body shoulder injury on his non-throwing arm, and so we'll see if he's able to go. I think he's questionable right now for Delaware. And as we saw last season, the Blue Hens were just a different team without Nolan, and he missed a lot of time last year with an injury as well. And so even if he does play, he won't be at 100%. Elon has lost 2 straight, but they do have 2 ranked wins against William & Mary and Richmond on their resume. 3-0 at home. I just think a combination of it being at home for Elon and Delaware's kind of question mark at quarterback there leads to an Elon win.
Craig?
Mary Lou's with a real Elon stand-up, because who knows what they are. I mean, this is their 5th game against a ranked opponent in CAA, so it kind of explains that they're 2-2 in those first 4 games. I agree with Sam. The Nolan Henderson injury makes you think twice. I probably would pick Delaware. I had Elon in my preseason top 25, so I guess I should ride it here. Although it's just like the Montana Weaver game, you could switch by the hour.
Toss up. I tell you what, these are tough games to pick for sure. Eastern Kentucky at SEMO, Sam.
A big game, obviously, for both, but also for the conferences. Is the ASUN WAC a 2-bid conference? We'll see. Is the OVC a 2-bid conference? We'll see. I think games like this against some of the better teams in those conferences do a lot for their national reputation. And when it comes to the at-large bids, who's in, who's out, who's on the bubble, and stuff like that. And so a big matchup for a lot of reasons. I'll take SEMO. I just think they're a more balanced team. They're rolling right now, like I said, undefeated against the FCS, and they keep that going.
All right, Craig, your thoughts?
Mary Lou's, Eastern Kentucky has lost some momentum here, where SEMO seems to be gaining it. They want to be peaking, going back into OVC play. I think you have to like SEMO at home as well.
All right, and our last game here to pick, Idaho at Sacramento State, Sam.
I'll go with the upset here. Although last time I called it an upset, Idaho fans got mad at me for calling their win at Montana an upset. They told me it wasn't an upset, and so I'll pick Idaho to beat Sac State, whether it's an upset or not. That's up to anyone's determination, I guess. But I just think Idaho has the run defense to slow down Cameron Scadabo and Asher O'Hara, and then on the offensive side, I just head coach Jason Eck is also, he's the one that calls the plays for Idaho. I just think he does such a good job scheming up defenses where he'll find a way to attack Sac State, who I don't know if they'll have a hangover per se, but they came off of a physical and emotional win last week against Montana. And so I think this is a good opportunity for Idaho to continue to climb the rankings and show that they are a top 10 team in the FCS. So give me the Vandals in an upset / not an upset victory.
Up for debate. All right, Craig, what do you think?
I agree. I have Vandal fever. They're doing great. They lead the nation in time of possession. Giovanni McCoy seems to be getting better by the week. I think, Sac State, obviously, is tough to beat at home. They've won 15 in a row, the Big Sky. It's asking a lot for Idaho to go do it, but I'm willing to say the Vandals.
All right. Okay. Well, looking forward to that one for sure. It's going to be a great week in the FCS yet again. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on FCS All-In. We'll see you right back here next week. Mary Cook here on FCS All-In, now joined by Matt Lingle, former EKU tight end. He played in the NFL from 2015 to 2019, played in the Super Bowl and won a ring with New England, which is pretty cool. So we're excited to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining us, Matt.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super honored and really excited.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and just jump right in then. First game that I want your pick for, Fordham at Holy Cross. Who you got?
I think looking at the standings, Fordham is second. They're going to win.
All right. Rhode Island at William & Mary.
Also, I think this will be an upset because William & Mary is a little bit better, but I'll do Rhode Island.
Okay. Chattanooga at Furman.
Chattanooga, I played them twice in college. They're always tough, I feel like. No matter what their record is, I'm going to go with them.
Southern at Jackson State.
Jackson State. I think absolutely Jackson State.
All right, Campbell at North Carolina A&T.
I think I'm going to go Campbell. They're seem to be trending up a little bit, so I'll do them.
Okay, Alabama State versus Alabama A&M.
Tough one. Alabama State. Because they almost beat EKU.
Okay, and that's your alma mater. So Montana at Weaver State.
Montana. Those boys up there know how to play. I think it's a beautiful stadium. And the last game, it wasn't Alabama State. It was Northern Alabama.
Okay.
But I still choose Alabama State.
Okay. And then Delaware at Elon.
I think I'll go with the Blue Hens on this one.
Okay. Eastern Kentucky at Southeast Missouri.
Not even a question. I'm going with EKU.
All right. And then last one for you, Idaho at Sacramento State.
I think Sacramento State. Every time I think of Idaho football, it's not like a good thing, but I think I'm going to go Sacramento State on this one.
All right. Well, appreciate you having you here on FCS All-In. Matt Langle, thank you so much for joining us here. Thanks for going all in with us. Enjoy cheering on your favorite FCS teams this week. Again, I'm your host, Mary Louise Cook, and we'll see you right back here next week on ESPN+. But until then, let's keep the conversation going on social media by using the hashtag FCS All-In.